What's up, everybody? We are
Beauty
and the Quad, and we are back after our video blipped a couple times and then didn't finish. So
stupid
we're
internet.
just going to record it here on Zoom and put it out like we were live. So we're going to pretend we're live. So today is WIWW. That's what the professor put it. WIWW. What are you wondering Wednesday? Where you can ask us any question, anything about anything. Okay, we might not know the answer, but we'll know someone who does. So anyway, all right. So we first want to say that tonight we're eating
Parmesan
crusted chicken with cauliflower rice. That's what won. Thank you for those who voted. And that's what won. So we'll let you know tomorrow on thumbs up or down Thursday, but today is what are you wondering Wednesday, and this is a pretty loaded question, but it's a three-parter. But
we want to thank our friend Kristie for sending it.
And it won't take 10-12 minutes, and just so if you're interested, hang with us. The question is this. Here's what the question is for your run. It says this: how did Danny's illness leading up to his paralysis diagnosis change your relationship and faith? So the question really is, how did the illness change our relationship and faith? Because it kind of in 6.5 hours, I became paralyzed. So, right, there really was no quick lead up. So, how does his quadriplegic, how does paralysis affect your faith and your relationship? And it says this: excuse me, honey, I can't see the question.
Sorry.
How has your faith carried and changed you as a couple, individual, and health coaches? Are you switching the microphone?
I'm switching. Oh, it's on the right microphone.
How has your faith changed you? Now we got to put this back here so I can use it.
Oh, sorry.
How has your faith changed you? And how's your faith carried you and changed you as a couple, individuals, and health coaches? And I think those two things kind of go together, and I'm going to start to address in a moment. But I want to address the third part first. It says, Elizabeth, how do you prioritize your health needs being a full-time caregiver and coach? So that kind of goes with this a little bit. So why don't you tell them briefly how that does?
Very quickly. Okay, so that's a great question. I am an Enneagram 2, and if you know anything about Enneagrams, a 2 is a helper, and my nature is helping other people and putting my needs very, very last. And that's one of the things that got me, almost 100 pounds overweight. And when Danny became ill, I just went into that helper mode. I just made sure that he had everything he needed. 24/7. I moved into the hospital with him when as soon as he was out of the ICU. I literally lived at the rehab hospital for a month with him because he couldn't do anything. And then I was
like the nurses.
They were awesome. And then I put the kids. Everything went ahead of me, right? And when we came home, same thing. I was, always needing to make sure, and in the forefront of my brain was, how are Danny's needs being met? What does he need in any given moment? What is it that he needs to sustain himself, to be healthy, to eat, to drink, to whatever he needs? And then, of course, we had the kids on top of that. So my health was out the window. So when we started the health journey, one of the things I really had to contend with and wrestle with was that nature that I still contend and wrestle with it every day, which is, girl, you have to put your needs first. Because in my brain, I was, well, that's being selfish. I've got all these other people who need me. And any mama out there knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? You put everybody else's needs above you. Everybody else eats first. I laugh at the Christmas Story when he says, my mother's not had a hot meal in however many years. I was like, I can relate to that. So somebody said this to me early on in our health journey, and it really resonated. And they said, girl, you cannot fill a cup from an empty pitcher. And y'all, my pitcher was bone dry. And I wasn't doing anybody any good when I am walking around half exhausted, not half exhausted, fully exhausted, half dead, undernourished, underhydrated. I'm not doing anybody any good. I'm grumpy. I'm tired. I can't think straight. My knees hurt, my feet, everything was just wrong. So as soon as I started putting my own health needs first, I discovered very quickly I had a much easier time taking care of Danny. I had a much easier time taking care of the kids and all their needs and making sure everything got done in the house and around that needed to get done. I have to contend for that every single day. I have to continue to remind myself, fill your pitcher, fill your pitcher. Make sure you've eaten, make sure you've hydrated. Take some time for yourself to just take a walk around the block by yourself, sit and meditate, sit and read, sit and do something that you're going to get fulfillment in, because until you're fulfilled, you cannot help other people.
Very good. Hope y'all got that.
Yeah.
So here's the other two questions. They kind of go together. Here they are again. How did Danny's illness, how does my paralysis, how did it change our relationship and our faith? And then the second question is, how has our faith carried us and changed us as a couple, individual, and health coaches? So the issue to me is not how does it change us. We'll get to how to change our relationship because it's kind of on the tail end of it, but how to change our faith. I don't think our faith changed. I mean, not like I ever said, well, there is no God, or what's God, who's God, and all that stuff. But I think like when people don't have faith all of a sudden anymore, right? Those are the questions. There's certain questions you could ask. But I think that what happened is you start asking different questions of God, right? Because you have faith is what I started. I find myself, sometimes I still find myself doing it, but and the questions don't become, where are you? Questions don't become, are you even out there? Or, do you even exist? The questions become, did God know that I was going to get paralyzed? Right? Because I'm thinking I'm a pastor in a church and I'm back preaching 2 days after I got out of hospital, right? And I don't need a pat on the back for that. I believed I needed to do that and believed I wanted to do that. But the issue is that you say, well, what did he know? I mean, and if he knew, then what then, right? And then you start thinking, well, if God knows I'm going to get paralyzed, right? Then does he know that someone's going to get cancer? Does he know that someone's going to child's going to get cancer? Does he know that? You start thinking, well, no, because does God know those things? I mean, you start thinking, well, I don't think so, because then that's the argument comes in from the naysayers, especially. Well, then why didn't he stop it? I mean, why give children cancer? And why give people cancer? Why make somebody all of a sudden not have abilities that they lose them, right? Why do that, right? And you say, well, God has reasons. Well, I don't think so, because that wouldn't be love, right? That wouldn't be necessary to me. That wouldn't be love. So no, I don't think you know, but you start asking those questions, and it takes you further down that road, because if he did know, then what, right? And then what are you supposed to do then? But I don't think it's that he knew. I think you have to start reversing that as you start asking those questions, right? You start saying, well, I don't think God knew. I think there's sickness in this world and it happens. I think there are people in this world who get caught up by evil and they kill other people. I think that, we know somebody who's paralyzed who got shot. I know a couple of people now who've gotten shot. I mean, because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? And no, I don't think that God works like that. I don't think God, but I think it's up to us in turn, rather than questioning why, because that's easy. I do it at least once every day, right? Why? It's what does God want to do with this? How does God want me to use this? And that's not an easy place to go to. And that's not an easy place to get to. And everybody probably struggles with that, right? Including this one. But what does God want me to do? Because when I have that question, it comes up every day. This sucks. Not even a question, statement. I can't walk. I just want to get up. And usually I can go boom and on, right? There are times when I don't, but usually I can go, okay, let's go forward. But because you have to say, well, what does God want me to do with that? How can I use this to further him, to further his glory, right? Because it's not about us, right? Not start preaching, and I'm not going to apologize for that, because it's a faith question, right? So it's you have to flip it. As you start asking questions of God, you start saying, well, wait a minute, maybe he wants you to do something with this. Matter of fact, he does want you. He doesn't just want you to sit around and just feel sorry for yourself. He wants to use you in a certain way. I don't even know all the ways he still wants to use me. I know that he wants to use me, and I had the faith strong enough to say, okay, well, last November, after a long time, after getting paralyzed, I stopped preaching and I went into full-time health coaching with my wife, right? And I know that there's more out there, right? So how has it changed my faith? It has. It's made it stronger in a sense. Because I'm like, you might get on disability when you stop preaching, but that's a whole salary. I mean, that we're on our own now, and if we don't cut it, then right, and we're not on our own. We know that God's leading the way, but the issue is, how do you use that for God? So I don't think in reference to questions, I think how has our faith carried us? as a couple, as health coaches, as individuals, exactly that. I mean, it's just, you can hear it in the story, right? Because we try to figure out what kind of people we can be for God with what we've been tasked to do. Now Elizabeth has added a job, a caregiver, and I have this, and I'm paralyzed, right? So then what can we do for God? So I think that's how it kind of directs us and carries us through. So it's changed us, maybe not totally. Our faith hasn't changed. It's just, you just start to look at things the way you always should look at them. I mean, I always did, but even more so, right? Especially when you go, I just want to get out of the chair. Okay, what do you want to do with that today? What do you do with that? What do you want to write down? What do you want to write? So there is that. How's the last part, hang in there? How has it changed our relationship? It has and it hasn't. I mean, we still are husband and wife, right? There's modern medicine, so we're husband and wife in that way, and that's part of the conversation. I know part of the conversation. We can still go for walks. I just ride. We can still go to the movies. We can still eat together. We can still be husband and wife in all kind of ways. But the issue is you have to separate the caregiver, which is hard for me. I know it's hard for Elizabeth sometimes, and from the relationship, because Elizabeth has to do some pretty gnarly stuff, some pretty nasty stuff. You know, she has to change number 2, right? And then she has to make number 2 happen. Right? I'm writing a book, and it's not coming out tomorrow, so don't be looking on the shelves. But one of the chapters leads off with that, hopefully in a humorous way. I see it in a humorous way, but those moments and so the point is this, she has to change. Now it's for me, I don't care, but she still has to do this, right? And it's not as nasty as it seems, but I just say, Elizabeth, I need my pee empty, right? And usually in a house we can empty it in a toilet or a cup or whatever. But if we're out, I'll ride around the corner. I don't care, right? Just hide enough for people can't really see what you're doing. And I have a catheter that's always in me, and you got to empty the bag, and you don't know what's there, and you don't know what's there when it's short. It's in its bag of itself, but the point is that she has to do these things. That's just a couple things, right? I mean, she looks me over head to toe, and she a lot of things, right? So that's got to be, and I've got to learn how to say, well, hubba hubba, honey, come here and give me a kiss, right? I said kiss. Hubba hubba, honey, come here and give me a hug. Hubba hubba, right? Whatever it is, hubba hubba, right? She might have just changed my ass, right? I mean, who wants to be hubba hubba when that just happened, right? And I'm a male though. Us males we're always on go. Even when we're paralyzed, we're always on go. Okay, that's the truth. So, but it hasn't changed that part of our relationship. We just have to learn how to be gracious, because Elizabeth has to go from nurse to wife. And sometimes I don't take that into consideration, but sometimes she doesn't either. Right, it goes both ways.
It does go both ways.
On the way here, the home before we did this, we were coming back from being somewhere, and I was honest with her, and I said, "Honey, I'm not gonna tell you what I was honest about, but I was honest with her, and I knew it bothered her, I knew it did, but I needed to be said, right? You need to be honest with each other. Right?
The key there is we really, really, really have to communicate.
Right.
I mean, it has to be honest. We have to give each other permission to be really graciously honest with one another, because if you're not, then that's when the resentments start to build and the frustrations start to build, and there are times we have to walk away from each other to just catch our breath and collect. He rolls away, I walk away, to collect our breath and take a minute, and we've learned to kind of try real hard to respect those times. Is it easy? No. There are times when I have to remind myself to flip the switch from caregiver, because again, like I've already said, I'm a helper. So my nature, my very essence, is to make sure he's cared for, to make sure to make sure that to make sure that all of his needs are met. And so I have to flip that switch sometimes, like tell myself, sometimes even audibly, flip, because it's hard. It has posed a challenge. But again, the key for us has been communication.
And that would be for anybody. It's
True.
not just because I'm in a chair and she's the
Right.
caregiver, right? I mean, some people bring their jobs home. Some people
Mhm.
bring other relationships home with their friends or stuff, and they don't know how to leave them, and they don't leave them at the door, and they don't leave them at the office, they don't leave them at the whatever the school. They don't know what it is, and so it's not. It's for
Yeah.
that goes for
And
everybody,
some mamas bring mama into the, they've been mama and children all day long,
right? And
and
they bring
and they forget they have to flip the switch to spouse mode.
right.
I mean, it's a different mode, and it
and
is what it is.
so in wrapping up, I mean, it's not just about us, right? And how it affects. I mean, everything affects y'all too, right? And you have to learn how to communicate with each other. And Elizabeth likes to say that we like each other.
We do.
She always says it's a good thing that we like each other. I guess
I
I
tell
like
him
her.
that all the
I
time.
guess so. I mean, I guess.
I kind of
I
like it.
guess I like you. So here's the deal. Learn to like each other.
Mhm.
If you don't like each other, learn to like each other. It's not just about love and hubba hubba. It's about liking each other and the relationship you have with each other, right? So that's how it kind of affected us. That's a little bit long-winded. I don't know if you hung in or not, but that is, what are you wondering Wednesday? What are you wondering Wednesday? Tomorrow we have thumbs up or thumbs down Thursday. We hope you will join us for that.
Yep. Send us your questions.
Mhm.
We'd love to answer questions.
It doesn't have to
about
be deep
anything.
like that. It
No.
can be anything,
It could be anything.
I mean, I don't think did you eat hot dogs for dinner last night would be too interesting,
Because we didn't.
but
We
you can
would've.
ask.
You can ask.
All right, we are
Beauty.
and the quad, and we will see you tomorrow.